It is Wednesday, April 15th, and there's so much for us to talk about today in the Daily News. I have four topics that I want us to look at, and the first one starts with a review of what we spoke about in our April 6th Daily News presentation as it continued to speak on the whole situation of Jamaicans. At the time it was stated 45. Now we have been told it's 43 Jamaicans working on board the Morella Discovery who allegedly were denied landing privileges in Jamaica. Now, I have not studied international law nor maritime law, but in that presentation, it was just common sense that brought the thoughts that I shared to light. And I was fascinated to discover that the government of Jamaica basically followed my thought process. And the information that came out, particularly yesterday with the briefing from the government, was spot on, So in a nutshell, the Prime Minister outlined basically what happened, which is kind of what I assumed would have been the case. The Morella Discovery would have made a request of its agent in Jamaica. And for those of you who do not know, cruise lines, even cargo vessels, they're all handled by agents. So their agents are the ones on the ground that they have contracted to speak on their movements in and out of the country and to handle whatever logistical issues they might need, food, refueling, offloading, docking, that sort of thing. Now, when the agent was advised that the vessel would be entering for refueling and that request was granted, I believe it was our Minister of National Security, Minister Chang, who stated that there is absolutely no reason for the government of any country, Jamaica of course in particular, to be made aware that a vessel has requested refueling. So this was a non-issue. However, upon docking, and note, and this is important because when the report was done by reporter Francis at the time, no mention was made that the vessel did not dock either in the Kingston Harbor or in any of our ports. But in fact, it was anchored close to 12 miles off the coast of Jamaica at an area that I'd never heard about called the California Bluff. And a bluff for the geography experts is just a mass of land, usually off the mainland, and it's formed by certain geographical wave activities and all of that. But we won't have a geography session today, Mark. You see where one of my passions lie. The vessel was anchored there for refueling. Now, just as I surmised, the captain at that point indicated to its agents that they are 43 Jamaican nationals working on the ship. And in my own interpretation, it would be nice for them to disembark the vessel and sign off from their contract. Now, in an afternoon arrival of a Thursday, now Jamaican traditional working hours are Monday to Fridays. And so anything that is a major request coming in on a Thursday evening at that, to go to the government is going to be something that will need some looking into, particularly with the COVID-19 and the wanting to stem the global, well, in our case, the national outbreak. So our Honorable Prime Minister in his recount stated that he basically didn't become aware of this whole situation until that Friday morning, and deliberation had to happen. It is normal, For me, I want to bring this thing to a very logical position. Sensationalism is of such that it gets people riled up, and it is a common trend in our society, in many societies. But I have lived and explored life and thought processes of our people, and you can get people really excited very, very quickly. And excitement in the sense of something sensational can start a whole lot of public chatter, but not necessarily lead to a solution. As a matter of fact, in my experience, the public chatter never leads to a solution. The intention is never for a solution to be arrived at. So with that being said, the Honorable Prime Minister indicated that with his team, they would have started to look at the situation. And of course, just as I had said, he had to put together his team to make this happen. You're talking about how to get these people off the ship. In my mind, was the ship either going to now take up anchor and move to a port that could allow for disembarkation, or would the government have to find a vessel that would go out to the California Bluff and meet the ship? We'll never know, because that never happened. Now, once they are removed from the vessel, we need immigration and customs to clear them. It is normal, it has to happen. So our government will now have to secure these persons. Yes, they are on the job, but they are physically not deployed, I would want to imagine. At least not in the numbers, or maybe at all. If the ports are closed, then there's really no reason for them to be there. As I am saying, I do not know the actual setup, but this is my assumption. You will have to sensitize them and have them be in place at a particular time to process these persons, right? Because even though we are in a situation where the ports are closed, if you are opening the port even temporarily, immigration checks need to be done, customs clearance needs to be done, because persons are coming from an international territory, meaning they have sailed several places. They would have had among them all of their possessions. The possessions still need to be checked to ensure that whatever they are taking into the island fits with whatever is our normal requirement. So customs and immigration will be necessary. Remember, the government also spoke to the fact that when this issue came to light, we were still trying to get 5,000 people or so to make an appearance to state what was their health situation, having come into Jamaica between March 18th and March 24th. And it was this exact situation where there was a sudden increase in the numbers of COVID cases that would cause the government to be rather tentative, because, of course, having closed the borders, the government would want to ensure now that they, one, identify persons whose status might be questionable, and two, provide them with treatment, and of course, three, prevent what is now commonly spoken of as community spread. Because what we would not want, and I can understand totally, is that we have cases all over Jamaica. Everything becomes very unmanageable, for want of a better word. We want to keep the cases at a minimum, and we also want people to become recoverable, if that's even a term, but you understand what I'm saying. So we want people to recover, and we don't want to have the health system flooded with persons who become ill, because you see, there are two things that can happen with this illness. You can recover or you can die. And I know I am not a medical person, and I'm putting it very bluntly, but when you sum up the whole thing, once you get COVID, your possibility of recovery is great, but of course you can die. It is just the reality of it, particularly if there are underlying health conditions. And we of course know that persons with pulmonary problems, with the asthmas and the related respiratory type illnesses and the other lifestyle diseases could fall prey to their own demise in the event that they should contract this virus. So in essence, serious business. We really don't want persons to not live through this season. We want we want us all to come through safely. So of course, having said all of that, the next thing is transporting these persons to an identified quarantine facility. So you've come to Jamaica, you're happy to be in Jamaica. Believe you me, nobody knows it more than me. I've had my various stints out of the country, and especially when you start longing for home, when homesickness sets in, and when nothing anybody says or does can really suffice. You just want to go home. You want to go to your yard. It does not matter what yard look like. It doesn't matter how nice where you are is. It does not matter what you have or don't have. You just want to go to your yard. You want to sleep in your own bed. You want to see your people. You want to hug your family, kiss your picnic them, the whole 9 yards. I get that. So basically, getting home does not mean for these persons, had that happened, that they would be getting to their homes. 14 days of quarantine would be the next step in an approved state-run facility. Now, we know that the government would have been in conversation to acquire these places, but follow the conversation. If a conversation had been prompted with stakeholders, ideally in Kingston, because this would more than likely be where they would disembark, that conversation would now have to fast forward to a now situation, and so preparations would have to go in high gear. And so upon being picked up and then being transported to this facility, the government also would have had to make proper arrangements to sustain these persons for 14 days. And so this is the reality check. I am in tourism, I sell travel, and I host people. Now, if you have 2 or 3 people coming to be in your environment for 14 days, especially if you you will have to be the person providing for them hand and foot, you need to literally have some disposable resources. Now, this would have been the government being in charge for 14 days, 2 weeks, of 43 individuals. There's a cost factor attached, and of course, had they received them, they probably would have made arrangements for the initial 1 or 2 days, and then provisions could have been made for the additional days, not a problem. But things would have to be put in place. So to wrap this up, because I know it's a bit lengthy, but I really wanted to deliberate right here. The Honorable Prime Minister stated that when the agreement was arrived at, that yes, we are going to receive our people. These are the situations that we have been working on. In my opinion, they would have taken time out of whatever would have been on the agenda to work on this. So the Prime Minister with his team would have said, okay, time to receive them. And having sent word to the ship, you would hear that the captain decided, listen, the Prime Minister and the government will take too long. What them think? Imagine I come to Jamaica and I have Jamaicans on the ship and I tell them that them people up on the ship and them don't want to come get them. Like, seriously? Big bad me? I am driving away my boat. So he decided, Mr. Captain, that he was not going to wait on the response. And so I want to think that he might have even misinformed the crew, saying that Jamaica did not agree. So Jamaica don't want to know. And so we've got this sensationalism these persons who were crying and reaching out to the media and to their families, and they're scared and they're petrified because they look in the distance and they see Jamaica, land we love, becoming a mere dot as they move on into the Atlantic, and their hearts were broken. The fact, in my mind, probably never reached to them that the government was actually working on your case. Give us some time. And even though I said I have a few other points that I wanted us to speak about, I'm going to close it here. But let me say this. If the captain was on a timetable, and maybe he was, but hypothetically, with ports closed worldwide, no passengers on board, no passengers to be picked up, a delay in arrival of a day or two would not cost him any skin. So therefore, if he had chosen to delay, and I had said this from my initial reading of that article, if he had chosen to delay and sit there for a day or two, sit through the weekend, it's not like him have no pot pan fly, him have nothing to run go catch. Like, seriously? If he had decided to wait it out, the report that I quoted from stated that the response that came back to the captain was that cabinet would have been closed or was now closed for the weekend. If that is so or not, we're not even going to go into a speculation. But my thought process was, if this was something important and persons their returning to home is at stake, and you have nothing moving forward to go pick up except to go drop off some other persons in some other islands who by now you probably learned sense to contact the people them first, and so now you have gotten permission to drop off the Dominican Republic clients, staff members in their country. If the ship got 2-3 days late, so what? Dam rep not going nowhere. The people can't jump off and swim. Make them wait. So, Captain Mr. Sir left Jamaica and decided, and this is interesting because at some point in that report or another report that might have been carried in the Gleaner, a statement was made by another crew member about the possibility of turning back. And I am led to surmise that word might have gotten to the ship that Jamaica was ready to take its nationals. And Mr. Captain man say, too much fuel for go back. So bottom line, we can't turn back with boat for carry back with people them to the country that we requested to take them because it got take too much gas. Like, seriously? So these are the places that I have a serious challenge. But as I said, I'm going to cap this, and I cannot close without saying that when they arrived in Portugal, and I did say it on April 6th, I did say Portugal, with all of 11,000 COVID cases. Portugal on the Iberian Peninsula, which basically is Spain and Portugal. That's the only two sets of countries that occupy that landmass between what is the entire, Europe as we know it, and a little piece of sea separating them, the Gibraltar Straits and whatnot, from Africa. This little country now of Portugal has 11,000 cases. And they are now being advised that these Jamaicans are coming. They made their decision. The vessel arrived and they denied the Jamaicans the opportunity to disembark the vessel and to be in Portugal, I would want to imagine, until proper arrangements would have been made to get the Jamaicans home. Now think about it. I have my own opinion, and you all will now discover that I am a very opinionated person, and it not sitting very well with me. That a lot of this could have been avoided if, one, it was done properly and in a timely manner. So had the captain done the thing in a way that gave the government time, he knew, as I said before, that they would be approaching Jamaica. Make the request in a timely manner. Give the government time to put in place whatever was needed and ensure that the process went through as smoothly as was possible. And secondly, now that you care where people go to Portugal and then can't come off of the ship, what you gonna do? So if other persons have been disembarking or if other nationalities have been accepted, that has not been stated. However, what is important is the fact that because of loose manners in planning and executing and even being patient, because believe you me, I've worked with Portuguese, I've worked with Spaniards, I've worked with Europeans, English and the rest, and I know how brisk they can be. And I know how they tend to scoff at persons who do not respond in the way and in the timing that they think is necessary. Totally oblivious of whatever needs to happen in between. But it's not happening in their timetable, at their speed, and so they make a case to take with themselves. Now, Mr. Captain, sir, you in charge of the Jamaicans then pan the ship for the duration of the time that it takes to get them properly repatriated home. I wish you luck, sir. You know, and I am sending this directly to Mr. Captain, sir, you can't come off a ship until everybody come off, so you have just extended your stay while the no sailing request has been cemented. So if you had plans to get off that ship and go spend time with your family, I trust that you know that you, Captain, cannot abandon ship. You have to stay there with everybody else until them reach a them yard. Man, lots of passion flaring up, but this is how I see it on today's Daily News.